What's going on? What's the word? It's about to awakening, heard all over the world. What's going on? What's the word? It's about to awakening, heard all over the world. Hey yo fam, PERPETUAL, it's time to wake up. Don't hit the snooze button. We gotta gird up, put your sire on. He's the word, you know. We're a light to the nations. We gotta let it show.
KEMBO, NATATA, Nzambi, and our creators and our ancestors of the light. We honor our ancestors of the light. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to you here on Zoom, and to our queens, Queen Tabitha and Queen Bosibore and Queen Mama Brenda. We really have been increased by what you all have brought forth, and people have really been enjoying it, you know. So I'm just really going to sit back, be quiet. I'm going to let the queens take it because, you know, like I said, you all are doing an awesome job. So, all right, I'm going to turn it over to you all.
All right. Habari, salama, away siani, sabona, and all the many dialects in our ancestral tongue our brothers and sisters use on the continent. Hello, greetings, everyone. So we're going to be talking about covenant, oaths, and vows today from a cultural perspective, and tying it in with the Bible, because we know that that Bible is our culture. It's nothing more than African culture. Just, you know, even that of some of Mesopotamia, also in Sumerian, which is basically the spirituality is strikingly similar to, and Kemet, to African culture. So that was our people back in antiquity, and they try to hide these things from us. So that's why they don't want us to connect to our brothers and sisters on the continent, because when we begin to learn the language is critical in the culture, because culture is tied into the language. So it's important that we even try to learn some of the language, or pick a language, or whatever language is laid on your heart to try to learn it. We kind of fell off. We was learning Kiswahili and Kikongo, and I got to go back to it as well. And I shared with you all a link where they have teachings for free. She teaches language by trade, and she knows multiple dialects, and she have, you know, basically self-taught herself Kikongo, and she's teaching it for free to people. I hadn't been on in a while though, but I need to catch up. And she does have some video for those of you that are not able to get on, because she does the teaching on Saturday. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and move on. We're not going to prolong the time. We know that Sister Tabitha is on a different time zone, in a different time zone than us. We want to respect her time, everybody's time actually, but considering she's in a different time zone. So we're going to move forward here. And again, you all jump in, tell us the language, something click in your head about the culture, the language, whatever. Please, you all jump in. It's just for conversation, the slides that I have here. So where's your, okay. All right. Genesis 17:7. We want to start here. It says, and I, the Most High, will establish my covenant with me and thee. Let me move this here so I can see. I'm not on my computer, so okay. And thy seed after thee in their generations for an everlasting covenant. So it doesn't end, you all. So this here is the covenant talking about the Most High that he made with us, our ancestors. So to be a God unto thee and to the seed after thee. Thus says the Most High, the God of Israel, I made a covenant with your fathers, and in that day that I brought them forth out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondmen. And I didn't put it on there what verse that was, but it doesn't matter. You all get the gist. We're talking about covenant. He's in the Most High made covenant with our ancestors, fathers. That's what it's saying. And in the seed, we know that's us, because the seed are the children. For you are a holy, and holy just means set apart for a purpose. So we are a set apart people unto the Most High. Chosen you to be a people for his own possession out of all the peoples who are on the face of the earth. The Lord did not set his love on you nor choose you because you were more in number than in any of the peoples, for you were the fewest of the peoples, but because the Lord loved you and kept the oath which was sworn to your forefathers. And so the word in the Bible for the modern Hebrew, it comes from the berit, the word berit, which means to cut or pass between. Essentially, that's how it's translated, but it's covenant, treaty, or league, but it's essentially is to cut or pass between pieces of the flesh. And we'll get into that because we know that they cut the animals in half and they walk between the animals, and they said, if I break this covenant, may what happened to this animal happen to me. So covenant was significant. It had ramifications behind it if you broke it. And we know that. We see that and we feel it to this day. And we'll get more into that as well. And so covenant is also defined as a binding agreement that is sacred. It's a sacred agreement. It's not like covenants that's made over here in the West, you all, where they, like when they go in and put their hand on the Bible and say, I do solemnly swear to tell the truth. People lie, nothing happened to them, right? But this particular type of covenant, there are dire consequences in the spiritual realm and physical realm to people that break this covenant, the spiritual sacred agreement. And it comes both with obligation, promises, and as I stated, consequences. The Hebrew phrase karath berith, to cut a covenant, and it comes from them cutting the animal in half and walking through. Hence, to cut a covenant derives from the physical cut involved in the ritual. The practice was a well understood cultural act in the ancient Near East, and they get me with that ancient Near East that was developed. I forgot what year it was, but it was developed by the West, you all know, symbolizing the seriousness of the agreement of invoking divine witness in the term. So it's not just the people, but these covenants involve also the divine realm. That's why there's divine consequences to it, spiritual and physical as well. So they're critical that we're conscious of these covenants that we make, particularly our ancestors, because we know what happened, right? And they said that, I read somewhere where it says that because they're so significant with the consequences, that it was a lot of times it was only made with the priest. By cutting the animals in half and walking between, let me move this here, Shuki. I'm not on my computer, you all, so why is it not moving? It's not moving. By cutting the animals in half and walking between the pieces, again, as I previously stated, the covenant parties symbolically are pledging that they will uphold their commitments under sometimes penalty of death. In Jeremiah 34:18-19, this act of walking between the pieces was explicitly tied to the consequences of covenant violation. So you all see, they keep talking about the ramifications and the consequences in the of not following through on these spiritual covenants that are made. I will make those who violated my covenant and did not fulfill the words, and this is Jeremiah, of the covenant they made before me, like the calf they cut in two and then walked between its pieces. So covenants reflect ancient covenant making practices. In a similar way, ancient covenants often became binding by killing and cutting an animal. And we see this all throughout the Bible. And it's on the continent of Africa as well. Just, it shows you that this is our culture. This may sound foreign to some, but actually you all heard the phrase, let's make a deal, let's cut a deal, let's strike a deal or whatever. It comes from this. It comes from this here particular practice of cutting the covenant, what they call cutting the covenant, or splitting the animal and walking in between it. But as I stated, in the West, when they make vows and oaths and covenants, you see it's broken all the time without any consequences. You know, they did that, and the British, they did that with the Europeans, with the Native Americans over here. They broke all of those treaties that they made with them. So, but there are consequences, but not as dire, I would think, because, well, I'm not going to get into that. But anyway, we'll probably get into that later on. Because I know that a lot of times I understand that they would die on the scene when you broke an oath of covenant, unlike over in the West. They go on and on for years, hundreds of years after breaking a covenant.
That's what I was going to say. When we made our covenant, as well put here, we made a covenant with our creators, and we walked through the pieces of the blood, the animal that was sacrificed at the time. We walked in between those pieces. But these people in the West, they did not make a covenant with the creator. They did not make a covenant with the God. They made a covenant with the people. And when they made that covenant, in their minds, they were not going to hold the covenant. They were going to break it. Their intentions were to unalive. And that's what took place. So they said something that sounded good to the people that they made the agreement with, but then turned around and broke it by unaliving them. So naturally, there was nothing really to hold them responsible, but their actions. And
taking their land, because They took a lot of land that wasn't there. So
yeah. So, all that's coming right back on them.
Yeah, it's coming around on them, although it didn't come immediately, like a lot of times it does for us because of who we are in the covenant that we made. But, there are universal principles that are upheld in the universe. There's nothing you can do to circumvent these principles from taking place. So whatever you put out in the universe, it comes right back to you. So we see a lot of that happening today. For example, we know that they said in the West, and also some other people, but I'm focusing on the West, Europeans particularly, not only in America, but also, over in Europe. Their population is dwindling. They are, more of them are dying, particularly the elderly, than they are producing. And so, Sister Bosibore and I was talking about this, and she made a good comment about that. How basically it's coming back around on them when you go and unalive and you kill a host of people for no just cause, just going around the globe, just spilling blood, just for the sake of it, and just to take from people. There's ramifications still behind that. And we see that happening now. So we see that is being reversed on them for what they have done. So, and the thing of it is, they don't even want to admit to what they have done. They're trying to hide it. So they're not even repenting. So they're making it even worse on them, the consequences that they're going to suffer behind what they have done to so many people. Okay, comments, questions? Okay. Over the last 150 years, many ancient extra-biblical texts have been discovered that help students of the Bible better understand its historical context and content. And from these sources, it's clear that covenant-making rituals were a common practice, for hundreds of years in many different cultures. And so this is just they talked about the different millennial, and I just brought up the first millennial. It's other, because I didn't want to prolong the time, just to give a synopsis and an example of it. It says several extra biblical texts describe covenants from the first millennial BC, which the cutting again or killing of an animal represent what would happen to someone who violated that agreement. So as you can see, again, there were dire consequences to this spiritual covenant that was made. It's similar to curses in the treaties where the offending vassal is graphically identified as becoming like or as a slaughtered animal. And they even said in there in the Bible, if we break this covenant, what happened to this cow may have happened to me. That's serious, you all, to make a covenant such as that. And we're gonna look at it and take a look to see why on the continent of Africa certain covenants are made and were made. And so this here is just talking about how there was a change in these covenantal rituals, how it went from just dire consequences to it now included blessings or benefits with it as well. So over time it began to morph. And so here, I just want us to take a look at oath and vow, because it's a slight difference to it. Oath is a solemn, usually a formal calling upon the Most High or a deity to witness to the truth of what one says, or a witness that one sincerely intends to do what one says. Like when you go to the court and you put your hand on the Bible, say, I do solemnly swear. That's basically it. That's why they're putting their hand on the Bible. That doesn't mean a hill of beans, because we know that people go all the time and lie all the time. We know that. The judge sit right there and lie. They always lie. So, and then a vow is a solemn promise or assertion, one by which a person is bound to an act, service, or condition. Now, the difference between the vow, the oath, and the covenant is that it has more of a stronger oath to it, because it's more of a spiritual agreement, as we saw earlier, than the oath and the vow. It has more of a spiritual tie to it. So it's a contract made before deities and recorded in the heavens, tying blood, consciousness, and destiny with another power. It's a contract between energy, so it makes it a spiritual bond. For we know that life is in the blood. Energetic contract, signature made at the soul level and recorded in the invisible realm, and it is never forgotten. And in ancient Kemet, the blood was considered the ink of the contract. When blood is shed in an oath, a part of the soul is captured in that oath. And if that oath is broken, it is said that the soul wanders searching for peace. So this is from someone that had wrote an article from an African perspective about covenants, and said in antiquity, almost every covenant involved solemn oaths, animal sacrifices, the exchange of blessings, and the giving of tokens that were signs of the covenant agreement. The biblical concept of covenant is a chosen kinship backed by divine authority through oaths. It unites persons or groups in a relationship, and is backed by divine authority. Questions, comments? Y'all are so quiet. My.
We're listening. We're very in tune.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, serving it up.
You know, one thing that come across my mind, I was trying to sit here and be quiet about it, but the one thing that came across my mind is the cutting of the cow, right? Mm-hmm. And our ancestors said, if we break this covenant with our creator, may what happened to this cow happen to us and, the descendants, right? Well, I look at where we are today, we seem to not be able to get along with our brothers and sisters on the continent and in the diaspora.
Yeah, I'm going to say period.
And there's always some kind of conflict between us. And we talk about we have to come together. So what just, come in through my mind is we're talking about trying to put this cow back together.
This what we broke. We're trying to rectify what was broken.
So we have to do something that we can come together as one.
Well, one thing, we need to repent. If my people who are called by my name will humble themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Does the scripture say that?
Yes.
And turn from what? Their wicked ways. Okay. Yeah. So it's something we have to do. I have been saying, we always want to say, hear me out. Oh, the white man this, the white man that, the white man. We have an onus, a responsibility, an accountability on our part as well, you all. Mm-hmm. Our ancestors did make covenant with the Most High and did not honor it. Now, I must say this. The Most High did not. The consequences of that was us, not the Most High. It was us breaking the covenant. Mm-hmm. Because we agreed, if we don't, then this is going to happen. And so we knew, our ancestors knew that there were dire consequences to breaking this covenant that they made with the Most High. And when they said, and your seed, that meant those that had not even come yet, it impacts you too. So that's us. That's why we're dealing with what we're dealing with today. And I thought you was going to go and talk about how the cow was split, which it can also represent a division. And you see that the division amongst us, not just our brothers and sisters on the continent, but even here in the diaspora, you have so many people saying, oh, well, my ancestors didn't come from Africa. I am foundational Black America, not realizing that the origin of mankind, the origin of Muntu, trying to correct my words, Sister Bosibore. The origin of Muntu, that's why we call it the motherland, is Africa. And our ancestors went abroad, went out, discovering, because that is who we are, right? Yep. So they went out discovering. That is why all over the globe, they start digging, as they say, the deeper they dig and the more they dig, the blacker it gets. Mm-hmm. You see? Yes. Because they went everywhere. Everywhere you go, they find these dark-skinned people, melanated people. Mm-hmm. So nobody is disputing that our ancestors were here before the Europeans came. We know that. That's a given. However, they were Africans that came over here on the continent. And there is a host of information supporting this. Mm-hmm. So yes, even the when we went to Mexico, I've told you all, I asked this man, who was his ancestors? Where are they at? What color they are? We talked about this last time, and he said they were dark. And I said, like African? And he said, yeah. And he went on talking. And I'm like, wait a minute. I want to make sure he's understanding me, because I know I'm speaking English, and I know that, English is his second language. So let me recircumvent here again and ask him this question again. And I asked him again. I said, and the second time I asked him, he said, yeah. He said, pointed to me. He said, we're one. He said, we have the same color. He said they were black until they started coming over here mixing with us. Now, that is what he said over there on the continent. Not only him, but when we went with that guy that was that talked about the history, when we went to some of the mounds, he said that as well. And when he was telling us about the history from a spiritual perspective and culture perspective, we sitting there like, wait a minute, this sounds so eerily like that on the continent of Africa. So I told him, I said, you know what? I said, this is same thing on the continent in Africa. And he said, yes. He said, Africa is the mother. That's where all this came from. I said, what you say? He said, yes. Africa is mother. It's where it all came from. So their spirituality is, I mean, if you hear them talk about it, you think they're talking about African spirituality. So yes, our ancestors went all over. Our ancestors, this here religion, all religion in the world, not just Christianity, Hindu, the Muslims, religion, all of them, it goes back to Africa. They got bits and pieces of our spirituality with a little mix of their own up in there, you all.
Yep.
You
Yep.
know,
Was somebody finna say something?
I was going to say, like you were saying, Mama Brenda, if you just look at, I didn't watch the video, but there was a Mundele woman that wanted to talk about the Olmec heads. And so she had a picture put up and she was talking. A lot of Mundeles that were in the group, they were like, do these heads really look Mexican to you? And I'm like, it's so, all you have to do is look at the features on the heads and that'll tell you where everything originated from.
But they'll tell you.
Yeah. It's like,
Yeah, but they want to discredit us and take away from us. But you know what, you all, let's look at it for what it is. I remember some years ago, Bana group did this research, and they said that the most quote unquote religious people are Black people. So you have to ask yourself, why is it that we are so spiritual wherever you go? Black people, melanated people are so spiritual. It's because, baby, it's that melanin. Your melanin is not just a color. Your melanin is a frequency. See? It helps you connect to that divine realm. Why is it those of you that was in church, we get to dancing? And we say, oh, we said in church, we feel the spirit, right? You get to dancing, and you know, if you come from out of a Pentecostal church like me, you begin to prophesy even once that quote unquote spirit comes down, and you begin to prophesy, right? And someone some years ago from Africa, it was this young man many years ago. He did, they're doing it now on TikTok, but this was way before TikTok even came out, because it was years ago. He showed in the church Black people dancing and shouting. When we dance and shout, and then he showed that on the continent of Africa when they were out doing, they rituals or whatever, doing they dance, to connect with the divine. It's a connection to the divine. Dancing, music, it helps you connect to the divine realm. You get to sing and clapping. Even clapping has a way of clearing negative energy, because so it's your melanin. And they have brainwashing conditioned so many of our people, particularly on the continent, to think of their Blackness, that beauty, that high frequency, that to think that is not beautiful, that is other than, is less than, and to the point to where they have them wanting to bleach out that greatness from on them, not knowing that it's divine, that melanin is divine. This is what connects you so much to the divine realm. That is why we are so spiritual in comparison to other people. It's because of that melanin.
Yeah.
Because melanin, it absorbs energy. Spirit is what, you all, is energy. So if melanin absorb energy, it's connecting more to that energetic realm, that spiritual realm. Go ahead, sis.
Who was Tabitha?
Yeah.
Oh.
Abari, I wanted to drop something in. Yes, Dada, you have said our people came before Columbus. That is very true. And I will look into that when we will continue with the calendar. Okay, what I wanted to drop in, you said about spirituality and how the continent of Africa influenced spirituality in a great deal in all these religions. At least they have part and piece of us. They took it and incorporated in their religions. One good example, and I think in the coming days, the Most High willing, we will talk about it. When you look at the religion of the Middle East, so I know what you mean, you know what I mean. This religion of the Middle East was influenced by the Sabaeans. I did my research. So at one particular time, I will tell you all that what happened. So when the Sabaeans, the people of Saba, who are the children of Cush, left Africa and settled in Yemen, and there are those people who are written in the Bible, the people of Telasa. The people of Telasa are the people of the Eritrean Sea, the people who lived along the Red Sea. They really contributed to this religion. Remember when this historian was telling us that even the concept itself of one supreme being, one supreme ruler, the concept came from the Nile Valley. It came from Africa. So they know that they wouldn't be singing this song that people are singing, there is one God, there is one God, there is one God, if it was not for us.
Yes.
For them, they had several. But we came with that and we told them, you know what? Monotheism is our concept. It's not a Roman Catholic concept. It's not a Grecian concept. It's from us. Let me call it a concept for those people who are not believing in this one God. Let me put it that way. It came from Africa. The concept itself, and it is an Arab who agreed to this. He's the one who was teaching and he accepted. He's a doctor or a professor or something. He's a well-learned person, so he was not making it up. He has done his research, he has read, and he has read properly. Now, the Sabaeans, the people of Saba, who will leave the Nile, together with these people who are living along the coast of the Horn of Africa and East Africa, would migrate to Yemen to trade. And these Sabaeans influenced the religion, but nobody will talk about it. How do you know? This old religion of the Sabaeans, they fasted for 30 days. Right? So you get it? They fasted for 30 days. They did all the rituals. They followed the moon. They followed the moon before the fasting and the other things, and all the cleansing rituals, and there is many more. And there is a book of the Sabaeans. It's like a script. And it's written all these laws, the laws that they had. And these laws, when now a prophet comes in the middle of that land, and he has his own followers, and he tells them, leave the idol worship, because now we are going to believe in one supreme God. So monotheism, what happens? They adopt some practices from the Sabaeans. Why? Because the Sabaeans influenced their civilization. The Sabaeans were the most civilized people that time. And so they copied some of the aspects of the Sabaean religion and incorporated them into their own religion. So it's not only about the moon. And remember, the people who were in Ethiopia also had a worship of moon god, and there was also a worship of the sun deity, and all these things, and these things migrated. So the Grecians might have taken the sun worship, and the other people remained with the moon worship, like, following this and this, and those deities, and they were in their coins. You see, like the people in the Aksumites. The Aksumites had a sun and I think a moon, maybe both of them, on their coins. It was written on their coins. So there is proof. So these people incorporated the Sabaean religion ways, you know, the constitution that was in their religion, they incorporated in this now new. We can say to them it was an awakening, because now they were leaving idol worship and they were coming to the other side. So the Africans have influenced their religions in many ways, even the Buddhism and the other. And you come to find out that Buddhism originated from the Nile Valley. It's coming from the Babylon. That's why I told you Babylon is not in Iraq. Babylon was in the Nile Valley. Babylon was in the Sudan. Babylon was here. That's why all religion, all confusion, the good, the bad and the bad will come from there. It doesn't mean that only bad came from Babylon, or only the good came from the Nile Valley civilization. There was the good and there was the bad. So we have influenced them, but they will not accept. They will not accept. And now you see how dancing has been incorporated. The African dancing has been incorporated in the Catholic Church. So the Roman Catholic Church just, you know, could not stop the people from beating the drums, you know. So when you go to a Catholic church in Europe, it's very boring. You have to stand and say Ave Maria and maybe sing in Latin. But when you come to Africa, the way the drums are being beaten, you know. Yes, when these priests come from Italy, when these priests are coming from what is that city called? The Vatican. They are being sent on missions. You know, they are always being sent like missionaries or diplomats. You know, when they come, it's like diplomats. Even the streets are being swept. I remember one time many years ago, the Pope John II came to Kenya. The streets were swept. The airport was swept. Like, you know, like it's some president, some big dignitary, you know, is coming, you know. So when they come to Africa, they are surprised because they can hear the ululation in the church. Whether it's a funeral mass, requiem mass, whether it's a wedding, when it's time to praise, they will hear that. And then they are like, what's going on? And the African drums are still beating in the Catholic Church. The kayamba, the percussion instrument they used to shake. And this kayamba percussion instruments was used by the Mijikenda, I think one tribe of Mijikenda, one clan, because there are several clans of Mijikenda. They are called 9 clans. Those coastal Bantus, they used to use the kayamba percussion to chase away evil spirits. And it's still used in church today, the kayamba, they played. So I'm specific on the Catholic Church because all the African aspects are there. Like when it comes to dancing, the children dance, liturgy. Even today we have these priests who really dance, you know, they dance, they forget themselves.
Like David dance.
The Catholic nuns, they also have their own time to dance. And, you know, when they're bringing, yes, they bring this sacrament and the gifts and whatever to altari. They say altari. So they dance. And these people are like, so I think these are more Catholic than us there in Europe. It's very, very interesting. Even if you're not a Christian and you attend that Catholic mass, before you know what is behind Catholic,
I've seen it, Dada.
You might be convinced
I've seen it.
to go there. Yes. So they took from us. They took so many things from us. And then now the Pentecostal, you can see the spirit moving. And the spirit is not only in the Pentecostal. The Maasai people, they're warriors. There is a time they make a dance until a spirit will come and possess somebody. That is the time they will know that something has happened. It's a spirit, I don't know, it's a spirit of courage or warrior, whatever. There is a spirit that will come. They call it Mori. So, and then I realized, oh, this thing of, chanting or singing or doing something until they feel physically the spirit has come down and people look drunk. You know how people look drunk
Yeah.
and
Drunk in the
like
spirit.
Yeah.
so this
Uh-huh.
is African aspect. This is African aspect.
Yes, it
Yeah,
is.
okay.
Yes,
That is
it
what I
is.
have for now. Yeah. We will come to that. We will talk about the Sabaeans and how the Sabaeans, the people of Saba, the children of Cush, influenced the religion in the Middle East. Yeah,
Okay.
a very big influence. Yeah, later in time.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead, Dada.
No, I was just going to add on to what you were saying. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. But yeah, it was a fight to get that dancing into the Catholic Church. Because, in Africa, the Catholic Church realized that when they introduced the forms of worship, it was so bizarre to Africans.
To us over here.
You are going to worship the Most High. You're like this.
It's so spooky.
It is.
Yeah, because Africans, we have the melanin is shaped in such a way that it goes according to 5 ratio. It's a spiral energy. It does not stay blocky. Hi, how you doing? Hi. Well, like, I worship my God. So what happened was this Africans started forming churches that were called African independent churches. Just like the Catholic, only they allowed Africans forms of worship. The drums, the kayamba, the shakers, what are they called? Those other what are they called?
The tambourine.
Tambourine, yes. So that was never allowed. You're supposed to worship God like this and do your Gregorian chants.
I don't know what they call them, but it sure is spooky to me.
Do you know the Catholic Church realized that they were going to lose if they did not change the forms of worship? They figured that there was more profit in compromising with African forms of worship, because melanin doesn't just stay like this, like a box. You are meeting the Most High. Your whole body, it cannot react like it normally does.
Right.
When people do those spirituals in church and those songs, like, I've only seen this with African Americans, and with Africans. Somebody dances until they're like, ooh, my legs, I can't feel them. And that's the beauty of melanin, because the way melanin interprets sound and resonance is not the same way another person from another race without melanin does. We're not the same, and I mean that in a nice way. So the Catholic Church was forced to actually allow dancing, which is called Vatican II. You can look it up. It's called Vatican II. So they allow dancing and singing in African modes of worship, because people were breaking off and forming their own churches that kind of look like Catholic, but not really. So they maintain their ancestral, praying to their ancestors, and just like Catholics do. And they would have their own kind of rosaries. There's one called Legio Maria, it says. And when you look at Christian business, when I say Christian business, this is Christianity as a business. You will find that many of the congregants are actually in Africa and not anywhere else. For example, the is it the Church of England? Okay. When they introduced a gay bishop, the African church, the African Anglican church, they said, we want to break away. We want nothing to do with that. It's very un-African. You see that? The reason why we say that and we're going to break off is because it was just, it wasn't compatible with our culture. It's just an abomination to be a homosexual.
It is, yes.
Oh, but then do you know that they realized that the African church had come to a compromise and realized that the African church has the most congregants in the world when it comes to the Church of England. The African church is the number one. You see that? So there's something, again, like you were saying, spirituality and melanin. And even during rainmaking ceremonies, it was mostly the darkest women in the village that would be used to make rain. Why? Because their color is the color of it's the color of the universe, ether, and the Most High is called a Tukyomin, he who is as ancient, he who is as black as the blackest of night, the ancient of days. So they would get women that looked like him, dark skinned like him, so that they would be on the same tandem in terms of resonance. So a lot of spirituality went into the concept of being. And to be honest, I've never really seen any light-skinned medicine men in Africa. So you know, when you see the people that were carried on the boats, it was mostly priesthood and royals. Dark, they were black. In the boat, I was just thinking, I'm like, why isn't there no light-skinned African in here? Because like my grandfather was so light-skinned that people used to call him an Arab. His nickname was Mwarabu. But they were picking out what they wanted. They knew what they wanted. So even the idea of getting dark-skinned African was by design. They could have been African, gotten the light-skinned ones if they wanted. They're so superior, let them get them from North Africa. They should have done that. So spirituality also has to do with the dark skin. And when Brenda, you mentioned about that, psychology has proven this, that Black people generally tend to be more spiritual. On top of that, I saw a video where there was this white billionaire. Brenda, have you seen it? It's on TikTok. A white billionaire. And he's with like 4 Black ladies, and he's telling them, because the Black woman, I think she has the power to regenerate by herself or something like that. She's the only one. Something about our DNA. But I think you know what I'm talking about. And he said, we're willing to even buy your period blood, $400. But each period blood, you bring $100. So they can get stem cells out of it. I'll send it to you when I'm done. I was mortified. Using melanin even now to make, chips? Okay, because they don't understand how AI works. I mean, they don't understand how melanin works.
And they will never understand either. No, they don't. You go research in the articles, they'll tell you they don't understand from a scientific perspective melanin. They've been researching and studying melanin for so long. Melanin is divine, you all. It is literally divine.
Melanin is divine, and that's why even when people like I was saying, like rainmaking ceremonies, it's dark skinned. If you're not dark skinned, keep it moving. Okay? So that's just how it works. So quality, you would see mostly darker skinned women. So I don't know if it's a coincidence, but for me, from what I've seen, they tend to be darker skinned.
No, it's not a coincidence. It's exactly what you said. And then you said that you talked about the Most High being the Ancient of Angels, dark of dark. And, you know, in the Bible, it even says that he dwells in the thick darkness. And this here, they're calling the dark matter and dark energy. That is nothing more than the essence of the Creator. That's all it is. And so you talked about how the Most High, Nkulu, the Ancient of Days, is so dark, dark. Talk about being created in the image and likeness of it is us. And it's a no-brainer. I told my husband, they know in science that the oldest people on earth are Black people. So if you want to go from a biblical perspective, when you go to Genesis where it says, in the beginning, God created who? Man, Muntu. Who was it? It couldn't be nobody else but us, because we are the original people that are first here. As a matter of fact, melanin has been here. They have done research in different animals. Millions of years ago, they found the melanin there. And I'm not talking about the pheomelanin. I'm talking about the Black U melanin, the U for good, the good melanin. We have been around a long time.
But Sister Brenda, even in archaeology, to be able to get, like a fossil, to be able to to get the underlying tissue of fossils that have been there for thousands of years, they have to have melanin to preserve it. Melanin is known to preserve underlying tissue that then they'll be able to do tests of such organisms. If they can,
Carbon dating.
It'll get.
They call it carbon dating. Carbon dating.
Yeah, carbon dating.
They call it.
Yeah, it'll get disintegrated, and you're right. So in the same respect, we will have to look at, even when we say the Most High is Atikyomin, Otuko, in Kikuyu, Motuko in Kamba, the ancient one. We also have to look at, why, when it comes to, we're talking about oaths, vows, and covenants, like you say, Sister Brenda. We have to ask ourselves, the first covenant that was made to the children of the Most High, what time was it made? Was it made, the first instruction that was given, when was it done? Was it done at night or during the day? When he told him, get out.
The first one that I recall was at night.
At night. He told him, get out and look at the stars. And he said, your descendants shall be like the stars. There's a reason why the Most High said that at night. Okay. Number two, if you look at these descendants, is it possible that they have stereotypes and names that attach them to this same night? You'll find somebody being called Blackie as a demeaning name. Blackie. And a spook. That was also a condition of the covenant. Remember, guys, the condition of the covenant, it started at night when the Most High took Abraham out and told him, you go outside and see. Can you count those stars? Okay. Now, they were supposed to have, there were certain stipulations that they were supposed to follow for years. And if they didn't follow it, those stipulations would go against them, just like you said with the covenants. Okay. Then night also was supposed to be, it was supposed to be a blessing, it actually becomes a curse. People who are blessed by it because of night. So Atukyomin himself blessed his descendants. He used night because he knew these children of mine look like me. They're dark as night. They are as glorious as the stars. But their lack of glory will come also with the night. See, call you a spook. They'll call you all kinds of names. Paint your face black. The blackness was supposed to be glorious. But when we went against that covenant, what happened?
It became a curse.
Thank you. Exactly.
Yeah.
So the Most High is very symbolic. Even when it comes to covenants, he's very, very symbolic.
Awesome. Brother Randall, is that you? Put your hand up. If you're talking, we can't hear you.
Yeah, I was just talking about, or I wanted to just mention on as far as the melanin is so precious. I don't know if you saw it, but there's a video out there. I think I put it in the group where the Mundelis have now come up with liquid melanin. They can buy it in different flavors. All of these Mundeli women are just drinking up liquid melanin. And the brother who made a comment on TikTok, he said, wonder where they getting that melanin, family. Why are our young children always end up missing? And I'm like, that is so sick. Now they're drinking the melanin.
Well, there's nothing new under the sun, because when the Europeans started going over into Kemet, they would take our ancestors, and it's interesting that now all of a sudden it's them. They portray them in the movie as European, and then you have the Arabs saying that that's their ancestors when they enslaved the ancestor of those people. Their ancestors did. But anyway, they made elixirs up until the 20th century. They made elixirs out of the bones, thinking that they would get, because they knew the greatness of our people, you see, but they wanted us to forget who we are. So they came and gave us all these notions that had negative attachments to it. Your black is evil, your black is cursed. Like Sister Bosibore was saying, it turned out, to be negative for us, you know, or black is the devil's portrayed as black and all these different things. How they would drink though that elixir thinking that it would make them better, give them power, make them, you know, just more like us. But it don't matter what they do. You can't drink melanin. Melanin is genetic. It comes from your gene. So they can drink. They claim that they're getting it from plants, but we know that's neither here nor there. But the point of it is, I have come to the conclusion that these people hate us so much, and I think hate is really an understatement, because I know it's because of who we are, because it was told to me that they want to be us so bad that they can't. Everything that we do, they mimic us, you all, but yet they turn around and try to crush us while trying to be us. That's psychological. You don't try to be like somebody that you hate. If you do, something is psychologically off there, you all. Let that sink in for a moment.
Kind of like a creepy queen, like beauty queen vibe. I want to be like her. You know.
Yeah, that's some weird stuff right there. You want to be like somebody that you say you hate.
Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
Copy even their God.
So I remember years ago when I went to a convocation, my husband was telling me, you know, they split us off. We had the women's that go to the women's teaching, and then the men, and he told me, what was his name? He's from the Caribbean, that preacher. You all know him. His sister, Grace. What's Grace's last name? The single Grace. Yeah. What was his name?
Was it Miles Monroe?
No. The guy, he said, if you copy, you'll compete. If his Grace, what's the singer Grace last name?
Jones.
Bishop Jones, Noah Jones. If he called the last, that's why I was asking y'all what's the last name, because I could call it. Bishop Noah Jones was there teaching for the men, and he was talking about copying. If you copy, you'll compete. You know, how was it? If you copy, you'll compare. If you compare, you'll compete. So you see what has happened. They're trying to copy us, so they're competing with us to the point of they hate us because they can't beat us. They copy us, so it's almost like a form of extreme envy, right?
Yes.
These people created these great civilizations. Everything that we do, even their spirituality, their so-called democracy that we have in America is not democracy. The true democracy was in Africa, you all. Everything came from Africa. Everything. And so that is why over here, why do you think that they came in and took our ancestors off the continent and brought them over here? We created America. So they talking about making America great again, and they trying to move us out. Guess what? Hey, it'll never be great. If they wanted to be great, you got to have some melanin in there, y'all. It'll never be great. It's us, our ancestors that created America. Right? Us. Our ancestors made them rich. Our ancestors built that White House. Our ancestors built those antebellum houses in the South. Our ancestors made all of these large corporations that I'm not going to name them, that are around, that is what was around during the slave time, made them rich. And you know what? Y'all know what, Dada and everybody, I said, they curse. They're cursed. You had 400 plus years of free labor, and you $1 trillion in debt. You're broke. You cursed. Our ancestors didn't have anything when they brought them over here, and when they so-called freedom over in the South, they didn't have nothing but the clothes on their back. And you see, we rose up still to greatness. It's that melanin. So if they want America to be great, they need melanin.
You think?
So y'all can get rid of us if you want. Y'all just gonna dwindle down just faster. That's all. Just bring your demise even faster. That's all. Yeah, I'm bragging on us. I sure am.
Amen.
It's a poor frog that won't praise his own pond, right?
Mm.
And we come from greatness. We are greatness, and it's time for us to restore, what has been taken from us. Call back, everything that the enemy has taken from us. First, like I said, we need to repent.
Yes.
Yes.
And we need to put down these ways that are not, ways that our righteous ancestors walked in, right? And I told you we're going to get into this talking about these covenants. So let me move along then so we get into this.
Wait. You keep talking. I can't even, I'm trying to interrupt and everything like that. I'm waiting for you to breathe. Come on, please.
If it's in there, it's just in there. I'm breathing. Trust me, I'm breathing.
All right. I have two things I wanted to say. Bragging on us. Everything that we have done, everything our ancestors have created and invented, we did it with excellence.
Mm-hmm.
That's another reason why they are a little upset with us. Them saying that, nicely, is because they don't do anything with excellence. Anything that they try to do, or they steal from somebody else and then say and try to like improve on it, it fails. It fails.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, we have built things out of nothing. Out of nothing.
Yes.
They can't build anything. They can't create anything out of nothing. So that upsets them. And then I wanted to go back to the covenant, which I'm glad you said something about it.
Uh-huh.
I think you made a comment saying that we need to repent for what our ancestors, for the covenant that our ancestors made, that we need to repent for what they did.
No, not for what our ancestors for breaking the covenant.
To break the covenant, we need to repent for the covenant that they made.
The seed was there too. We was there too. I did a teaching on this. So the seed was there. So, and that's why I'm talking about this. It impacts you for not just for a lifetime. Okay. And remember, we don't die. Energy doesn't die. Yeah, so you could have been back there. Right? Your spirit could have been back there during that time. So once we understand who we are as a people and don't think in a Western perspective, then we'll know why we need to repent.
Yeah. And then that's another reason why they hate us. We come back. They don't.
All right. Now say that again.
We come back and they do not.
Why do you think they're trying to
I know.
They have come up with this here birth control for 8 years, and then the Kenyan president is going to allow this craziness in there. Let me move on, because honey, we jumping ahead because this is in here, because the Most High told us to bring life, right?
Mm-hmm.
This was in Africa. So, and black people at one time had tons of children, not just on the continent. Over here in America, we will have a lot of children. I have an uncle that got 19 children, y'all.
I have a cousin that has 12 children.
Leaving what? 19?
19. My daddy's brother had 19 children. I got an uncle that had 10. My grandmama had 7.
There we go.
Yeah.
19 though?
19, baby. 19.
My friend used to there were 12 in their family. I thought they were out like a whole nation. I thought 12 was a lot. In Africa would have up to 15, 19. And you saw the Ugandan woman, she has 40.
Oh, Lord have mercy, bless her soul. Bless her soul.
Yeah. And by the way, the largest number of twins that ever survived, the nano triplets, are from Africa, Mali.
Really? Mm-hmm.
Mali. Yes, nano. How do you call them? Nano. They are nano. Like they are 9 twins.
Woo!
Wow.
Yes.
Natural.
Yes, natural. And no, I don't know if they did a C-section, but
No,
they were not
No,
incubated. They
no,
were
no.
from
I
the
mean
womb,
naturally without
conceived.
any. Wow.
Yes, naturally conceived. Yes, and
Wow.
the
Wow.
doctors thought it's better this lady to be flown to Morocco. So they are in Mali. You know, Mali is a Saharan country, and so the doctors thought that it would be better. They would seek, good medical, whatever. Maybe they know this. Maybe they knew the situation back in Mali. So she was flown before she gave birth. She was flown to Morocco, where she delivered her 9 babies, and they have survived. Maybe this year they are 2 years or something of the sort. The
So they're
largest
all
number of, yes, all alive and well, boys and girls.
wow.
wow.
Just
That's being
just
fruitful and
Google, yeah,
multiplying.
yes, Google
Amazing.
that, you'll find it. It was
I
some
must
2 years
Google
back.
that.
Yes,
Wow. But you and
yeah,
you
Can you
from
get
Timbuktu, Mali.
Timbuktu. Yeah. And you know, twins are very prominent amongst black people. My grandmother had 2 sets of twins, fraternal and paternal. My granddaddy had twin sisters, and one of them, their granddaughters, had twins. And when I had my second child, I was real skinny and small, way smaller than what I am. And my son was real big, and he like, you may have twins up in outside. Rebuke that. Ain't no 2 up in here. I said, we done already saw that sonogram and we ain't see but one. He said, no, they can hide behind each other. I said, I said, you ain't putting that on me. But they say, twins run in family, and it is heavily in my family. You see it all across the African continent and over here in America. I don't know. I haven't researched in South America, our people that's down there, but I'm quite sure it's a lot of twin births there as well. I don't know why, how, but it's just seemed that that's more prominent amongst melanated people.
And Dada, do you know that even where we have twins now, there are some tribes in Africa, when they get twins, they kill one.
I know.
Okay. Now my tribe, and not even tribe, not my tribe, just Bantu in general, twins are a blessing. Now you will find that in my tribe, when twins are born, the first twin will be called Babere. Babere means 2. And
2.
the second twin will be called Varongo. Varongo just means, the covert one. And it shares the same suffix with the Irongo. Irongo is like an attic, somewhere that's hidden. Even the Kikuyu name Irongo means the covert one. So you will find that even in Swahili Kingwana dialect, Varongo, Murongo, Varongo. Varongo means a liar. So you will see the second twin carries the identity of the covert one, the hidden one, the liar. Varongo, Murongo, it carries that concept of, just like the Jacobite name. Jacob was the second twin, and he was what? The liar.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the word Varongo, you will see that among, if you parallel with other Bantu languages, Varongo. Now for us, Varongo would come from the idea of being Irongo. Irongo is an attic, hidden, you see. So, but in Kikuyu, Irongo is the one who is covert. He cannot be understood. He's hidden. You see, it's just the idea of somebody who you just can't quite understand. He's a trickster.
Wow.
Identity even up to today. The second twin is the trickster, the hidden one. The first one is the second one. Now you will see the same pattern happen with Jacob's children, with Jacob's grandchildren. When he was about to die and his eyes were dimming, he did not know who was who. He just crossed his hands. But Joseph thought, if I put my oldest son on my right hand and my youngest son on my left, then the blessings will just come respectively. No, the Spirit of God had a different plan. Remember, Jacob supplanted his brother. So it was only incumbent that the same thing would happen with his grandchildren. Because Joseph was like, why? Because when what happened was, during the blessing, he switched his hands like that. You see that? And he gave the blessing of the first one to the second and the second to the first. Okay? But in Ekehusi, now if you look at the word, Manasseh was the first son, okay? Manasseh was the first son. The second was Ephraim. Those are the children of Joseph, right? And he had a Egyptian woman. So, with that being said, Manasseh is here. Now, Manasseh's blessing, which is, Manasseh was on the right hand, but grandfather brought the left hand here and took that there. The same way he supplanted his brother, then the supplantation had to happen with his grandchildren. So his grandchildren, the first took the second blessing, the second took the first blessing. Same pattern, generational blessings and curses. Now, and Joseph was upset. He said, no, this is the first one. He needs to get the firstborn blessings. Now, if you look even in the Kehusi language, the word mana ase just means to try and look for something in the dark. Mana ase okomana. You see, so remember when he was blessing his son, what did he do? He stretched his hand out like that. Mana ase.
Wow.
I love it.
Wow.
Love it. So, Mama Tamara, violations of breaking covenant oath. Violation creates vibration felt in the soul and create cosmic imbalance. Okay. We're talking about covenants that are spiritual oaths, spiritual covenants, not these oaths that they make over here that just, have really no spiritual connection to it, but they do have ramifications for them that it catches up with them because of the principles of the universe, though. Yeah. Let them not get that twisted. Vibrations in the body are disturbed and significant cycles of karma are created. Now, let me ask you this question. You asked, why do we have to repent because of what they did? So if it doesn't impact us and we don't have to repent, why is it still impacting us today? Why do we still see those different curses that came upon them that they said, may this come upon me? And they said, me and my children. Right? So why are we seeing it today? It says breaking blood oath means you have borrowed from the universe and it demands the debt to be paid, referred to as the energy debt of consciousness. It creates disturbances in your thoughts, your actions, and your spiritual journey.
Hold on one second. Let me interject. The flip side of that too, or not flip side, but the other part of it is not only do we ask for forgiveness, because when they made that oath, we were there, as you stated. Okay, so it fell upon us, but we also have to ask for forgiveness of our ancestors for breaking the covenant.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes. So we have to lighten this thing on us. We have to lighten it and walk upright before our creators.
Yes. So that is why they wrote on the wall, man, know thyself. And I say it's because they knew, our ancestors knew that we were going to forget. It was going to be a time where their children forgot who they are, the greatness of who they are. Man, know thyself. Because if you wouldn't have, if they wouldn't have forgot, our brothers and sisters on the continent would be trying to bleach away this divine color on their skin to look void. Okay, people that do not have eumelanin, they have pheomelanin, which means dusky. They void of color, void, absent. They have a very minute amount, very minute.
Yeah, they look like death.
Okay, so why would you want? And as a matter of fact, I've seen videos of children in villages in Africa, first time seeing a European, and they running thinking they done seen a ghost. They are just so frightened. It's hilarious to me. They running, crying.
Right.
So, okay, you ready for me to move? You told me to stop. You done? Okay. Okay, real quick, y'all. Just a few minutes to this. This is our brother Chikwendo. Thank you from Nigeria.
In African spirituality, words are not cheap. They are life and death. Every syllable carries weight. Every vow is a cord that binds. Every declaration can ripple through the realms of the living and the dead. To speak carelessly is dangerous, but to swear falsely is fatal. For in these traditions, an oath is never just a promise between two people. It is a sacred spiritual contract. It is a binding covenant made not only before witnesses of flesh and blood, but also before ancestors, deities, and unseen forces that enforce order in the cosmos. To swear is to sign your name in spirit, and once that ink is set, there is no erasing. An oath, in its essence, is a declaration sealed with power. Unlike modern promises that may be broken with little more than disappointment, these ancient oaths are spiritual signatures carved into destiny itself. They are not symbolic gestures, but binding codes, invocations that summon forces beyond the human to stand as judges and executioners if the vow is betrayed. The oath transforms words into weapons, into contracts written on the soul. To break such a vow is not only dishonorable, it is lethal. What then makes these oaths unbreakable? Why have generations feared their consequences so deeply that even whispers of them evoke awe and terror? The answer lies in the belief that no human being alone enforces an oath. When one swears by the Ofo among the Igbo, or by the ancestors in Akan tradition, or before the shrine of Ogun in Yoruba practice, the vow is transferred from human hands into divine custody. It is no longer a personal promise, but a sacred covenant that the spiritual realm itself will uphold. To lie under such an oath is to place your life in the balance and dare the unseen to strike. And according to tradition, the unseen never forgets. In this journey, we will walk through 9 of the most powerful and feared oaths in African spirituality. Oaths that reveal the weight of truth, the sanctity of blood, the authority of ancestors, and the deadly consequences of betrayal. We will uncover the oath of truth, where the staff of Ofo calls down.
Okay. So, you see there are spiritual ramifications that, and we have to understand that when they say we are our ancestors, we literally are, you know. When you look at the word, we talked about this before, mother, and go to the Latin, it's actually matter. Matter, that is where mother come from. That is why they said Mother Earth. And then the matter goes back to the mother, to the earth when we die. And the spirit goes back to the Father. All right. So we are connected. There's a spiritual connection to our ancestors, and we'll get into this and see. It has to do with community and ties with community. We are different people. We are not like the West where it's individualistic. Everything was based on community. So I want to be able to get into that so we can break this down. So it's a covenant making in African traditional religion, a significant practice that involves deep commitments and agreements among individuals and deities. It serves as a regulatory framework for behavior and relationship within the community, not the individual, community. You all are going to see this throughout. But what has happened? We have become like them. That's part of the curse. We're so individualistic, me, my, mine, and we don't look at it. But and you all gonna see where I'm going with this. It says essential for maintaining social order and moral conduct. What does that sound like? Community, social order, more. Okay, y'all get it, huh? Y'all get it. So this is someone that wrote an article at one of the universities over in, I think it was Nigeria. Yeah. Covenant is a contract under seal, a promise to do or not to do certain action, or that a given state of things shall exist or not. Because of this complex nature, African people do not have just a word for covenant. African words for covenant includes promise, oath, vow, bargain, agreement, etc. In any typical African religion, the very idea of religious worship presupposes some form of covenant relationship between the worshiper and worshiping community and the deity. Covenants were drawn in all African societies to cement a wide range of human relations and interactions in issues like marriage, settling disputes, adoptions, admissions into societies, arrangement for buying land and trade, etc. These operated mainly as a preventive measure against a potential threat to peace and tranquility. So here we saw where it says maintain social order and moral conduct. And here, over here, they said peace and tranquility for the oaths, as well as cultivation again of peace, good relation, mutual friendship, respect, and love between people and the spiritual forces, the Most High. Covenant is entered into to help safeguard the life and confidence of the parties involved in the covenant or the agreement. And it is believed in African cosmology that from the beginning of human life, the supreme being, this is what I was talking about, commanded people to get married and bear children. So why are these demons coming up with types of medication to prevent us from doing what we were told to do? They making us curse ourselves.
I agree.
That's why it's important to know who you are. If the Most High told us to do this, commanded, it says, for us to do that. It's a commandment.
Yes.
And sold us this lie over here in America and say, oh, you're poor because you got so many children. Because, you know, black people over here had a lot of children too. And they said, that's why you're poor. And they came up with Planned Parenthood. All of that was just so that they could prevent us from reproducing, you all. Because they don't reproduce like us. And fast forward to today, they was trying to prevent what they're dealing with today, that they are dying off like their ancestor, the Neanderthal.
Yep.
And they was trying to prevent that. So in order to prevent that, and in America, people need to understand why they getting and I said this before, they started with the Hispanic, right? The Mexicans, getting rid of them. And then they went to now it's black people. Because they say by 2030, 2035, they're going to be a minority. So it's part of that has to do with trying to prevent them from becoming a minority and the black and brown people majority. Because the number one people that are producing the most in America is first the Hispanic and second the black. So why then did they go again to the Mexican first and the black? It's strategic. It's strategic and it's spiritual as well. Spiritual. So we need to wake up. We have been commanded to produce children. That is how our ancestors come. Females, I've told you before, your body is a portal. That is why we have to be careful of who we allow into this portal. Your body is sacred. Your body is bringing a spirit from the spirit realm into this realm. It's spiritual. And then there's
no, I'm just agreeing with you. I can see you on the floor. Just finish it and I'll say it.
I was just gonna say there's spiritual ties to that. You know, when the Bible says, and the two shall become one, and then you got our females that have lost the teaching that was over on the continent, because we'll eventually get into that too, to where you remain chaste until you get married. It's a reason, because that's spiritual, you all. They said that it's a man's sperm stays in a female body herself. It's a long time, they say. I can't remember, but it's a long time that it stays, impacting you spiritually and the way you act too, physically. This stuff is spiritual. We are a spiritual being. We are not just matter. We are spirit, and our bodies had to be created from matter for us to come into this realm. But we are first spirit. Remember, he said, the Most High say, I told, what was that, David? I knew you before you was formed in your mother's belly. How did he know? Because of the spirit. The spirit existed already. Okay, Dada, what you got to say? I'm going to do like Mama Tamara said, I'm going to breathe. But I am breathing, though. Trust and believe.
I'm going to add on to what you said. You're right. When it comes to the idea of what we're talking about when it comes to the eggs. You see, even with the 15th letter of the Hebrew alphabet is, the letter is Nun. Nun. Nun carries the idea of posterity, a seed. Okay? Posterity or a seed. To much of the Kibantu language, people say the seed is with a man, right? No.
Go ahead.
Is actually the respectable term for a woman of royal descent. Nunu. So the word nun becomes Nunu. It's like Madam Royalty in Swahili. Nina is mother. Okay? Nina is mother in the Kehuse. You see that? So when you have the idea of seed in Hebrew, the woman, it pertains to the posterity of the woman as well. So while the man carries the seed, the woman enhances that posterity. She's the incubator. The concept of female genitals is kinena. So you see, and the nun, the concept kinena means a woman's genitals. Nena means to speak. So posterity can be in the seed, posterity can be in the word. See that? So just like what you're saying, yes, pedigree of inheritance when it comes to who the child is the father's. So you identify from the patriarchal line. However, the homesteads are usually named after the women in African culture. So there's a balance. It's not what the Europeans said, women are so abused. Do you know in my culture you could actually take your husband to court for beating you up? My grandfather was president of the African court. And there was a story my grandmother told me. A woman it wasn't necessarily her who brought him, it was her parents, because she ran away. She got tired of being beaten. And her parents took that man to court. You see that? Even in African courts, you can sue your parents. People don't know this. They think suing parents there's a way, but it's not like the European way of suing parents. For example, in the Samburu culture, you can sue your parents, but the fine that will come out of it, you're going to pay it as a child. So I'm going to sue my dad for abusing my mom, and the fine that will be fined 8 goats. They'll say, oh, because you brought him to court, you're the child, you're going to pay. But do you know the amount of humiliation that man will go through?
Wow.
So, because he will not be talked to in front of you or in front of his wife. Now, people who are circumcised with him will go to a corner and tell him, seriously, you went through circumcision so you can come and hit a woman, because they know it's an abomination to hit a woman. And then they will clown him. The way they clown that man, he wished he had never even touched that woman. But the woman will never know, neither will the child. Okay? So, but they find the child will pay, but the man will be dealt with. In fact, I'm telling you, there's so many ways that there's so many, like, they're projected as these savages who just eat meat, like tearing it up with no napkin and shit. Like they always projected as this crazy, people. My grandmother also told me about a story, and even my dad told me this one too. Both of them did tell me this story about a woman who said she didn't want a husband anymore in African culture. She said, I don't want my husband anymore. She said, and I said, why would you say that? She said, he doesn't shower, he stinks, he smells, I don't want him. I like to the bathroom. You hear me? He could not come to that bathroom. And this is where the idea of oaths and covenants come in. Marriage is a covenant, it's an oath.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
So in African culture, that divorce was discouraged. We always believe there's a solution. Okay? Now, and when we say there's a solution, we're not going to leave you with a man who is manic to beat you up and crazy, to beat you up until you die. That was also not African culture. Because they knew that when you hit a woman, there is forces that will follow you. And in fact, it's a saying they say, meaning the reproach that will come out of hitting a woman, it's just too much. You don't want to deal with it. You know?
Wow.
So this thing of actually demeaning women is more of a European thing, and I'll explain why.
It sure is.
Because we never had prostitution until the European industries came in. Kisi culture, there's no word for prostitute. Okay? The word for prostitute now they use is what Eke logo is a chair. Okay? Anybody can go and sit on her, you see? They don't really have a word for a prostitute. You know, they'll use a name that shows a woman who moves around, or she's a chair, or you know, she's an open door. They'll use a kind of name, but we don't really have the word for it. Why? Because language is an emblem of social behavior. So even when this woman came to sue her husband, saying, "Oh my God, he doesn't shower," or whatever, she was told by the judge. She was told, "Tell your husband to go in the morning to the lake every morning, to the lake every day, sorry, in the morning, and put his spear in the ocean." Okay? And because every morning he had to go and put his spear in the ocean, he had to shower. He had no choice but to shower. You see? So there were reasons why women would take their husbands to court. Women had rights, and it's not exactly what the Europeans like to project.
Going on? What's the word? It's about to awakening, heard all over the world. What's going on? What's the word? It's about to awakening, heard all over the world. Hey yo fam, PERPETUAL, it's time to wake up. Don't hit the snooze button. We gotta gird up, put your sire on. Here's the word, you know. We're a light to the nations. We gotta let it show. We were called by the Most High Yah.